This is World History, in case you forgot what class you were in. This is Chapter 22, the Second World War, a time of war and a time of peace. This is the last video of Week 6 that we will be doing together. So please make sure that you've double-checked that you've done the 3 homework assignments, the 1 quiz, and the Chapter 21 test. Make sure all of that's in your packet before we start this last video. In the 1930s, France rested behind extensive fortifications. Britain tried to prevent war by appeasement. The U.S. enjoyed splendid isolation. None of the democratic powers was prepared economically, militarily, or morally for war, and the totalitarian governments will take advantage of it. We're on page 483 in our textbooks. I want you to read the first paragraph on page 483 to yourself. Once you have finished, please unpause and we will continue. Roman number 1, global tension. Letter A, dictators defy the League of Nations. Quick question, what was the League of Nations? Yeah, it was the international organization created after World War I that would help maintain world peace. Let's see how it does. During the 1930s, military-minded governments like Italy, Germany, and Japan began threatening world peace. War became an accepted and legitimate means of achieving their personal and national goals. The League made attempts to stop these actions, but failed completely. Number 1, Japanese expansion in Asia. Although Japan had played a minimal role in World War I, it had become a world power by the end of it. During the 1920s, Japan sought to generally go along with the movements toward peace. By the 1930s, the nation became more militaristic. A military clique controlled Japan. A clique, by the way, is an exclusive elite group. Sometimes we hear about cliques in school. Well, in this case, it was a military clique, and they controlled Japan. This military clique gained control of the nation and embarked on a program of territorial expansion. Letter A, Chinese weakness. China lacked a strong central government and faced civil war. In 1911, a revolt against the weak Manchu government succeeded and a republic was formed. Sun Yat-sen was the man responsible for this, became the leader of the new China, and he formed his nationalist party. It was called the Kuomintang Party, or we can call it Nationalist Party. Sun promoted what he called the 3 principles of the people: nationalism, democracy, and social progress. Unfortunately, Sun never maintained a strong grip on the country as warlords fought for control among themselves. Next individual is a man by the name of Chiang Kai-shek. I want to make a correction on the PowerPoint for you right off the bat. This K is supposed to be an H. Chiang Kai-shek, not skek. So make sure you note that correction. When Sun died, Chiang Kai-shek took control of the government. Chiang liked Western missionaries, Western ideas, and democracy. He sought to reestablish the nationalists' control over China, but civil war broke out. So Chiang Kai-shek is the man who replaced Sun Yat-sen as the leader of the Nationalist Party. The man who opposed Chiang Kai-shek was a man by the name of Mao Zedong. He lived from 1893 to 1976. He became the leader of a group which sought to establish communism in the country. So he wanted communism in China. He hated missionaries, hated Christianity and democracy. He sought to stir up peasant uprisings in doing so. One of the famous encounters between the nationalists and the communists occurred when Mao successfully escaped capture with his army and taking what was called their long march of about 6,000 miles to northwestern China. Chiang was unable to pursue because of the arrival of the Japanese. Letter B, Japanese invasion. In the 19th century, Japan had easily defeated China in the Sino-Japanese War, showing how weak the Chinese really were. In 1931, Japan took control of Manchuria. The map that you see on the screen there shows Japan and the areas that Japan took over from China. Manchuria is the northeastern section of China, which had been under Chinese control. Japan committed barbaric atrocities against the innocent inhabitants. Missionaries tried to tell people, but the world wasn't interested in far-off Manchuria. The Chinese government protested to the League of Nations, but all it did was tell Japan and China to settle their differences in negotiations. Instead of withdrawing from Manchuria, Japan withdrew from the League of Nations. And then in 1937, Japan took possession of key cities and resources in China. The communists and nationalists declared a truce to their fighting and began working together to combat Japan. Yet even together, Japan was able to take possession of key cities and resources. Although the League of Nations condemned Japan's actions, no country was willing to go to war or halt Japanese aggression. Number 2. Italian revenge in Africa. Italy was the next nation to defy the League of Nations. In 1935, Mussolini sought to recreate the greatness of the Roman Empire by invading Ethiopia. Ethiopia was an independent nation that had successfully held off an Italian invasion in the late 19th century. Mussolini sent in a well-equipped army using a combination of air power, tanks, and poison gas against the Ethiopians who were using bows and arrows. End result, Italy defeated Ethiopia. So what did the League of Nations do in response to this obvious invasion of one League member against another League member? The League placed sanctions on Italy. Because Britain and France did not want to anger Italy and respond militarily, the League placed sanctions on Italy instead. A sanction, by the way, is a forbidding the sale of certain materials. So in short, Italy was not allowed to trade certain items with other countries, or I should say more likely, other countries were not allowed to trade with certain items with Italy. The sanctions failed to have an effect, however, as oil was not one of the resources that was sanctioned. In 1939, Italy then took possession of Albania. Albania is located on the other side of the Adriatic Sea, just across the sea from Italy in the Balkans. Mussolini made both Ethiopia and Albania part of his growing empire, his second Roman Empire, so he believed. Number 3, Germany. German rearmament in Europe. Hitler, remember, decided to remove the Weimar Republic, and he established what became known as his Third Reich. It's the term used to describe his new German empire. Reich is, of course, the German word for empire. We've talked about that already. In your books, there is a pink box entitled The Third Reich. I want you to read that pink box to yourself. Once you have finished reading that box, please unpause the video and we will continue. So what did Hitler want? Hitler wanted what he called Lebensraum. Lebensraum means living space. Hitler wanted to expand Germany's borders, but he had to build up his military first. In 1935, Hitler began rebuilding the German army. He left the Geneva Disarmament Conference and then left the League of Nations. Hitler instituted a military draft which had been illegal according to the Treaty of Versailles. Remember all the military restrictions placed on Germany? Hitler decides to ignore them. And then in 1936, Hitler fortified the Rhineland. The Rhineland, by the way, is the western section of Germany that borders France. The Treaty of Versailles had demanded the region to be demilitarized. It was supposed to be a neutral zone between France and Germany. Hitler again broke the treaty by sending his army into the region. France complained, but the League failed to do anything. Imagine what would have happened had the League, had the Allies, attacked Hitler when he first violated the Treaty of Versailles by invading the Rhineland with his tiny and not yet rebuilt army. He would have been wiped out. He would have been defeated. Hitler would have been humiliated. Perhaps he possibly could have been overthrown in Germany for failing to show up the Allies and the League of Nations. It would have ended the whole conflict right there. But the Allies, the League, did nothing. And Hitler, having succeeded there, will feel emboldened to continue to grow in power. That's all the notes we're going to cover for today. Reminder about the homeworks, the quiz, and the test that you need to make over chapter 21. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend. Be good, do good.